In this session, we're going to write our first code to our Raspberry Pi Pico H. In order to write code to the Pico H, we're going to use Thorny. So I'm going to start by opening Thorny. And once that's open, I'm going to connect my Pico to the computer. I'm going to plug in the USB port. And that goes into the computer. I'm then going to go into the Thorny window, and in the bottom right, I'm going to select Raspberry Pi Pico or RP2040, which is already selected, but I'll select it again, Raspberry Pi Pico. And you'll notice that once I've selected, this text here appears in black, which indicates the version of MicroPython that's installed on the device, as well as the name of the device, Raspberry Pi Pico with RP2040. Now that we've opened Thorny, we're going to write code in Thorny to make that LED on the Pico blink. That LED is referred to as pin 25 on our Raspberry Pi Pico. You'll notice that on the back of our Pico, we have pins labeled GP, and they've got a number after that. So you'll have GP0, GP1, GP13, and so on. In order to do this, we need to start by importing libraries that we're going to use for our code. In this case, we are going to use the pin library to make reference to these pins on our Raspberry Pi Pico. So I'm going to import from machine, import pin. Because we want our LED to blink and there's a time function involved there, I'm going to import the sleep function from time, import sleep. Using these two functions, I'm able to control that LED on pin 25. So let's give this LED a name, and let's just simply call it LED. And that LED is a pin which is on port 25, and it's an output pin, so we call it pin out. The next thing is we want to get down to the process of making it blink. So I'm going to write a while loop. What the while loop is going to do is it's going to repeat everything that's in the loop until something changes. But the parameters outside the loop do not change. So that means it's going to continue on and on until I eventually stop it. So while true. While true simply meaning while the conditions outside of the loop are true. LED value 1. Value 1 means our LED is switching on. Value 0 means our LED is switching off. Similarly, for any other devices that you're connecting to your Raspberry Pi, as long as they're output devices, value 1 means it's switching on, value 0 means it's switching off. So I will let that stay on for 5 seconds. So I'll use the sleep 5 instruction. And then after 5 seconds, I would like it to switch off. So I'll say LED value 0. And then I will keep it off for 2 seconds. So another sleep function for 2 seconds. And we'll let that process repeat continuously. At that point, I will save it. And for now, let us save it to the computer. And I will save it to the desktop and give it the name Blink. And I will save that. Now that I've saved it, I'm going to press the play button and let's see what happens. You'll notice that the LED begins to blink. 5 seconds on, 2 seconds off, 5 seconds on, 2 seconds off. Let's just play around with the timing so that we have it blink a bit quicker. So I'll stop that. And then let's change that from 5 seconds to 0.5 seconds, half a second, and let's change that from 1 to 2 seconds. And let's save it and run it, and let's see what happens this time. It's blinking much faster. You can play around with the timing so that you get it to blink as fast or as slow as you wish it to. You can save this code to your Raspberry Pi Pico so that it runs whenever your Pico is switched on. In order for you to do that, to run the program, even without connecting to Thorny and running it from Thorny, is to save this program that we've just created onto our Raspberry Pi Pico using the name main.py. So I'm going to save as. This time I'll save it to the Raspberry Pi Pico. It won't allow me to save because I haven't stopped it. It's still running. So I'll click stop first. Then I'll repeat that process. Save to the Raspberry Pi Pico. And I'll give it the name main.py. And I'll click OK. So our program is now saved to the Raspberry Pi Pico as main.py. The moment I close Thorny, disconnect the Raspberry Pi Pico from the computer, and then connect the Pico to the computer once again, that program begins to run, and you can see the light is flashing. If I connect the Pico to any other power source, that program is going to run because it's saved as main.py.